A very good morning to all of you. Welcome to today's news analysis. We are doing the Indian Express papers, Chandigarh edition. Now, in today's news, I just want to tell you about the editorial and opinion section before going ahead. So, there is one on Egypt, the Egypt visit that took place. So, there is an editorial on that, so which we should study. And another one that I found important was on multilateral development banks like World Bank, etc. So this is an important topic from the point of view of international relations, which comes under GS2. We have an article by N.K. Singh, ex-bureaucrat, and his views have a lot of importance when it comes to the realm of finance or fiscal policy. So very important, right? So this article is there. I have made necessary annotations and it is uploaded on I'll upload it on my Telegram as well. So for your kind reference. Now moving on with the front page, we have, you can see first of all, we have something about Bishnoi to National Investigative Agency. Then something about Rajnath Singh, the Minister of Defense, on the POK. So it's highly political, so not important in a context. Now this news over here, this is about the Prime Minister chairing a meeting on Manipur. And the brief points are that he's saying that there should be measures taken to ensure distribution of essential resources. So this is the first step towards normalization. So that should be done. So this was talked about. And second thing, the BJP leadership was discussing was about the continuation of the Chief Minister Biren Singh. So if we should continue or not as the Chief Minister, they were undecided on this. So that's all we have from here. Next, we hear about landslides. So landslides hit traffic in Himachal Pradesh. So with the rains have triggered landslides. Now, landslides are an important topic both for GS1, it's a geographical phenomena. In fact, it is there in your physical geography NCRT under the landforms chapter or geomorphic processes. So GS1 and GS3 if we talk about disaster management. And what if there is a case study? Imagine there is a route that is blocked because of the landslide and some remedial measures are to be taken. Some mitigation has to be done. So that becomes case study. Fine. So GS1, GS3 and GS4. Now I just want to show you the type of questions that are asked in GS1. GS3 is obviously disaster management. It's straightforward. And we can refer to the NDMA guidelines on the same. So first, let us see the questions that were asked in the GS1. And landslide topic is very important. So I'm referring to the Drishti IS website for mains questions on geography. So you can see in 2021 itself, we had a question. Differentiate the causes of landslides in the Himalayan region and the Western Ghats. And you see this theme is quite common. So let's say let's move on with the other questions. The Himalayas are highly prone to landslides. Discuss the causes and suggest suitable measures of mitigation. Then bring out the causes for more frequent occurrences of landslides in the Himalayas than in Western Ghats. So again, you see the difference, Himalayas and Western Ghats landslides. Then there is a sub question. There is no formation of delta rivers of Western Ghats unrelated to landslides. So you can see, if we talk about the topic of landslide from geography point of view, so one we have about landslide, you should have a definition of this thing. We should know about causes. Then Himalayas landslides in Himalayas and Western Ghats, we should have a comparison on it. And this is a recurring topic. The question may be asked about landslide as a geographical phenomena or in context of Himalayas and Western Ghats. And since it has been asked, getting the content for the same is very, very easy. It's not very difficult. Okay, so this is about the landslides. Moving on, in Kashmir, Jammu and Kashmir Union Territory, political parties, the mainstream political parties like National Conference and the PDP are open to conduct of any election held in Jammu and Kashmir. So previously it was thought that given that what has happened after in 2019 about the revocation of Article 370, so this and the denial of statehood, so they will not contest, so they are open to contest, and this is a positive thing in terms of political engagement, participation, citizen engagement. So in that light it is good. Now this one is purely out of curiosity. So then RTI was from the RTI, it has come to be known that 70,000 people have surrendered passports in India in a decade. So in the last 10 years, 70,000 passports have been surrendered. And of this, 40% were from Goa. So I was very curious. 40% is a very, very big number, right? So almost half of it. So why is it so? So one reason could be Portuguese. They are offering citizenship to the people of Goa. So those who were born before 1961, right? So Portuguese was in Goa till that time. So the year that marks Goa's liberation, and two future generations have the option of registering themselves as Portuguese citizens. So that may be the reason. Okay, we can just scroll through this. Very quick news. Meat transporter attacked, 11 dies, 11 vigilantes arrested. Now this sounds very similar to what was happening in 2015, 16, 17, right? In fact, though there were so many incidents of mob attacks that a new term came up known as Mobocracy. So from democracy to mobocracy, and this topic was picked up in 2018. In fact, if you look at this GS1 paper of 2018, the society questions, there is a lot of emphasis on communal topics, right? Communalism, etc. So that has been the highlight of this year's paper 2018. So GS1 covers society. So today I'm not doing it. Okay. MCD to work with PWD to curb waterlogging rain alerts in Gurgaon. Again, today I'm not doing it, but the topic that it would have been urban floods. Yesterday also I told you. So urban floods, and again disaster management, NDMA guidelines which can be referred to. In fact, I thought that today there will be some more news on this, maybe on the front page or something like that. So I'll discuss it. I've prepared the notes and everything, but we'll do it some other time. We'll have a lot more opportunities. Everything is ready. Okay. We have addressed all concerns of city Chandigarh about waste plant which is to be set up so as to reduce the burden of the landfills, etc. So the waste plant will convert the organic waste into CNG. So that is the idea. Plus it will help address the issue of leachate. Leachate, I hope you remember. Imagine this is a landfill site, and for some reason the water is released, maybe from the organic waste that is there, or maybe because of precipitation, rains, etc. So there is water which eventually percolates. Slowly it percolates downwards. And in the process, since it is in touch with all these waste and pollutants, it gets bad. It gets contaminated. And this liquid is known as leachate. And this, because it is leaching downwards and eventually leaches onto the ground, leading to ground pollution and water pollution. So this will address the issue of leachate as well. Now this system was designed by NIRI, and that's my focus. Right, so NIRI. So we should know more about NIRI from the point of view of prelims. So NIRI is National Environmental Engineering Research Institute. It is said to be a constituent laboratory of the CSIR. In fact, you can see here also CSIR and NIRI, National Environmental Engineering Research Institute. And what is the mandate of NIRI? To conduct research and developmental studies, as it says, right? Constituent laboratory of CSIR. So they make technologies, address issues related to environment, and hand it over to the concerned authorities. So this is it on NIRI. We go further. Another city, Punjab, actually, Mohali, leads to waterlogging, traffic jams. I think all of our cities would have been affected at the moment. Explained section. In 10 years of Meitei scheduled tribe demand, repeated pleas to state and center. Okay. So this we will do it quickly. So there is a demand for a scheduled tribe status. You all know what is scheduled tribe status. So scheduled tribe status for Manipur's dominant, mostly Vaishnav, Meitei community. So again, you notice this expression used, dominant. You know, if a particular group is classified as a scheduled tribe, the reason they are doing it is to give them greater protection. And that is because they are not dominant. So that's one of the reasons why this demand for becoming a scheduled tribe is not getting accepted. Okay, so Vaishnav Meitei community, which is a dominant community in Manipur, they want the status of scheduled tribe. And besides this, there is the demand for inner line permit. Right, so these are the two demands that they have. Okay. Now let us first look at the demand for the scheduled tribe. And why are they talking about the inner line permit and this status? They say that we want to protect our identity. We don't want quota. We don't want reservation. We just want to protect our identity. And they are concerned that their share in power is coming down. They are concerned that today they are a majority community, but in future they will be minority. So they are concerned about this. And therefore they want special protections. They want inclusion into the scheduled tribe, as well as they want the inner line permit. I'll discuss inner line permit in some day. Okay, so concerned about majority, they will become a minority. So, and they are backing this with this fact that in 1951, the population of Meiteis was 59%. And in 2011, so about 60 years of time, this population has come down to 44%. So the population is declining. Further, they say that 40% of Manipur's population are underrepresented in the assembly. So more share is going to the Kuki and the Naga population, the hill tribes. So they are concerned with that also. Right. So therefore they want this ST. It's not about quota, it's about identity. And the other demand is for the inner line permit. Now let's look at the inner line permit. So this is a system, actually we can just refer here. This is a system which came 1901, the Manipur kingdom before independence, devised a permit or a passport system to control the entry of foreigners. So imagine a piece of land is there. If somebody wants to come to this land, they need a permission or they need a permit. So this allowed this permit that was required, this allowed the entry of foreigners into that area. Further, it ensured that it is not possible for foreigners to settle over there, somehow maintaining the demographic profile of this area, because non-Manipuri people, non-Meitei people cannot come here. If they come, they have to go back also. They have to register, they have to inform the authorities, they have to take permit, and then they will also have to go back. So this system was there. So now the term that is being used is inner line permit, and it is exactly the same arrangement. So it is an official travel document issued by the state concerned to allow inward travel of an Indian citizen. Now it is inward travel of an Indian citizen into a protected area for a limited period. Now this inner line permit is in contradiction of which fundamental right, by the way? Article 19, which provides for freedom of residence as well as freedom of movement and residence also, right? But this is an exception that is being made by providing a restriction on inward travel of Indian citizen into protected area. Okay, we'll scroll out, zoom out, sorry. Yeah. I haven't read this, the story of the Gond Queen. Otherwise, history optional, Rani Durgavati was mentioned. So you please read about this one also, Rani Durgavati. This was during the time of Akbar. Okay, explained economics now. The Indigo Tata duopoly. Okay, so in the recent times, we have heard certain airlines going bankrupt and they have ceased their operations, right? So this has happened. So because of all these events, we are seeing that now there is a duopoly, that is two companies are existing in a market. Otherwise, there are many players in the market, but they are now only duo or two players. So one airline is Indigo. If you just look at a plane flying on top, there will be an Indigo airline. And there are three other airlines, but they are all owned by Tata Group. And together they hold 88% of India's domestic aviation market. Fine. So these two groups are dominating, Indigo and the Tata Group. Here it is. So Air India, Vistara and AIX Connect. Now, what is the concern associated with duopoly? Duopoly means limited competition. It may happen that Indigo and Tata may come to a consensus and they say that, see, our market share is more or less intact. It's very difficult for somebody else to come. We should keep prices profitable. So they are free to have high ticket prices. And in fact, we are a very price sensitive market. But if there were more players, like if let's say more players, more companies are there, in that case, the new entrants would like to keep the price lower to attract more consumers. Right? So that is a drawback that we have. The next article, which is on Assam delimitation draft. So this itself means that the constituencies of Assam are being delimited, And delimitation or delimiting something means defining boundaries. So in this case, defining the boundaries of the constituencies. So this is being done in Assam. Fine. I'll read this and then I will explain more about the delimitation process. So what has happened in Assam? Let us have a look at it first. So last week, the Election Commission proposed changes to the boundaries of several Lok Sabha and State Assembly constituencies of the state. So Election Committee had released a draft delimitation document. So it is about the boundaries, the changes in the boundaries of the constituencies of both the Lok Sabha seats as well as the assembly seats or assembly constituencies. So this is to be done. So this is to represent the changes in the population. Fine. So this is being done over here. Now, there is an allegation that the ruling party, which happens to be the BJP, they are manipulating this exercise of delimitation. They are redrawing the constituencies so as to benefit them politically. Because delimitation, of course, is about the electoral process, the election process. It defines who will vote, right? What will be the composition of a particular constituency. So there is a concern over there. So the opposition parties, they are raising concern over this. They are calling this draft is partisan. That is, it is biased in favor of the ruling BJP party. They are saying that it is being done in such a way that the Muslim population that is there, let's say in a constituency, the Muslim majority populations are there in certain constituencies. Actually, 8 are there. So it is being done in such a way that the Muslims are being merged in such constituencies with Hindu majority population. So overall, the composition of a constituency will have Hindu majority. So that is how the constituencies are being divided. And therefore, politically, it will favor the BJP party. So the opposition is crying foul over the process of Assam delimitation process. Now, let us look at it from exam point of view and mainly the prelims point of view. Okay. So delimitation. So delimitation is normally done by the Delimitation Commission of India. Here we are hearing about the Election Commission, which has released a draft delimitation document. So normally it is for the Lok Sabha and Assembly seats, it is done by the Delimitation Commission of India. And Article 82 of the Constitution, Article 82 of the Constitution says that after every census, there shall be a Delimitation Commission established. There shall be a Delimitation Commission established. And this commission shall delimit constituencies going by the changes in the population, which we know from the census, and suitably make changes to the constituencies. Fine. So Article 82 provides for this thing, and it has to be done after every census. Now, we don't hear about it much because there is a freeze on delimitation exercise. So an amendment to the Constitution was made, which provided that the constituencies for the Lok Sabha seats as well as assembly seats shall be done on the basis of 1971 census. So it has not yet been revised. Yes, if let's say Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir or a new state is created, so in that case, naturally they have to delimit. The process is there. But other than that, it has not been done, and it is stuck with the 1971 census. And it will be revised in the year 2026. The next exercise has to be done in 2026. So this was the time period for which the process of delimitation was freezed. Right. And whenever the Delimitation Commission gives its recommendations, it has to be passed by the Parliament. So both for Lok Sabha as well as the state assembly seats, it has to be passed by the Parliament, and after that it becomes Delimitation Commission Act. So that defines the new constituencies, or newly delimited constituencies. Fine. Okay, so this is only for the Lok Sabha seats and the assembly constituencies, because after this we can talk about the local body elections also. So in that, the Parliament does not play a role. It is only for the Lok Sabha and the assembly constituencies. And for this, there is a Delimitation Commission formed, and the Parliament has to pass a law, or they have to pass an act on the recommendations that have been made. Okay, we move forward on the news that we have. Let's see, government and politics. We are having these G20 meets, a lot of sub meets are going on. So there is one meet on G20 Infrastructure Working Group. So not much content we have. It is taking place in Dehradun. Then we have decentralization of governance in cities. So this may be discussed at G20 Mayors Meet. This is going to be the main theme. Decentralization of governance in cities. Now this is again a topic in itself for our mains examination, right? So GS2, we're talking about governance, so GS2. Now, if you look at it, decentralization of governance in cities, it is about reforms in the governance of urban local bodies. So we can look at this topic separately some other time. What reforms are required in urban local bodies? Okay, this is about the yesterday's news, where we heard about army had to release 12 insurgent groups to a mob of people, on the forefront of which we had women. So 12 insurgents had to be released. So they have put out a video of this protest that was going on. So there is this video on this. You can watch it on this link. There was, right, it was not so simple actually. There was a lot of digging had been done. The roads were blocked. So yeah, situation was very, very bad. We'll scroll further. Okay. Here we have a news, Madras High Court judgment that caste to play no role in appointment of temple priests. So we can look at it from the point of view of Constitution, GS2, and the concept of secularism in India. So this is reflective of the idea of positive secularism. We are seeing that the court, or we can say the state, is not having strict separation from religion. It is not disassociating itself from religious activities. Rather, we see that from time to time, the courts, or the various aspects of the state, from time to time, they intervene into the matters of religion. And this is not about religion, understanding or comprehending religion, not in that context over here. Like, it's about the secular functions of religion again. For example, appointment of a priest. So this has to be done without the caste considerations. If the person is knowledgeable, if the person can do the customs and rituals rightfully, then it is perfectly fine. About audit of financials, about so we can see in audit related matters, right? Misappropriation of funds is not taking place, something like that. Or let's say organization of a religious festivity which has a lot of population coming in, lot of people coming in. If it is mismanaged, it may lead to stampede like situation. So in light of public welfare, again we can see the state uh, intervening. I'm not using the word interference, I'm using the word intervening. Interference is more of a negative word, we don't want to use that. So intervening, right? So management of crowd, etc. So these are again religious functions, but they are secular in nature, right? So we can have that. So we have positive secularism. Negative secularism would mean something like what is happening in France, where there is strict separation. They say we have nothing to do with religion, you want to do whatever you do. There is strict separation of state and religion. But here we have positive secularism. The state can from time to time engage in matters of religion as well. The secular, mainly secular, non-religious activities of a religious institution, etc. Now, why are we talking about this also? Because so there is a temple. There's a temple. I'm forgetting the name. So this temple wanted to appoint priest. Right? So they wanted to appoint a priest, and for that purpose, they released an advertisement. So advertisement, so people can apply, and if they are eligible, they will become the head priest. So that was the idea. So there's a person who filed a petition, Muthu Subramania Gurukar. So he filed a petition in the court saying that the temple, this advertisement that is being released, it is affecting the rights of people who have the, whose hereditary right, or whose family has been performing that function. So his son will perform, his next generation will perform. So they are depriving of the people whose hereditary right is there. So he filed a petition, and the Supreme Court said that Madras High Court said that this thing of it will not be applicable. Likewise, the issue of caste is also not central to the religion. So anybody who is knowledgeable, who can perform the rituals, adhere to the principles of temple, that person would be eligible to apply. There is no restriction on the basis of caste. So caste of a priest was not integral to the religion. Okay. Now we come to something about tackling drug menace. So we have Himachal Chief Minister. So he's saying that sensitivity, vigilance, awareness. Three important terms we get in the headline itself. They are must in tackling drug menace. Okay. So the Himachal Chief Minister was chairing a meet or a function on the International Day Against Drug Abuse and Illicit Trafficking. Now, in this context, again, drugs, GS3, internal security, if we can, drug trafficking is GS3. Issue of drugs on society, then it will be GS1. Now, if you remember, I told you before also, when we talk about drugs, there are two sides of things. So one is the supply side and demand side. That is the drug supply side. When I say, let's say I say the drugs are getting smuggled, there is an economy associated with, and so they're getting smuggled, they're getting trafficked. There are drug peddlers, the government is taking action against them. So they are all dealing with the supply side. That is, it doesn't reach out to the common people. And if somebody is in possession of that drug, they will also, action will be taken against them. So this is all dealing with the supply side of things. Demand side is something that we need to focus on. The state has been focusing for too long on the supply side and not so much on the demand side of things. That is, people do not demand drugs. They don't want drugs. So that has to be focused. So when we have these terms, sensitivity, awareness, right? Specifically sensitivity, awareness. So if that is there, people will not, they'll be sensitive to the concern, there'll be sensitivity of about the issue, so they may not demand drugs. And for this, he's talking about de-addiction, because addiction, if somebody is addicted, they will demand for drugs. So there should be a de-addiction campaign. There should be a appointment of psychiatrist, right, who can deal with the patients. Special care should be there. So the society should be made aware about the menace of drugs so that they don't get engaged in drugs, especially the vulnerable groups like children, etc. So that is dealing with the demand side of things. So this is something important. Okay, now we come to the editorial page. So very quickly, which all articles not taking up today? For the present US government, democracy's liberal deficits are not a deal breaker. Yesterday we had on the values take a backseat in Indo-US relationship over interest. So strategic interests are more important today in Indo-US relationship. So again, a repeat. You know how to prepare Indo-US relations? Just go to the GS2 paper, mains paper, and you will get questions on India, US. More or less all the themes are covered. So you can just do the past years and your preparation for this topic is done. You don't have to read every day about Indo-US. Not required. Because anything that could have been asked is already taken up over there. Like you saw with the landslide topic. So after Patna, before. So again, something we can just ignore for the time being. Majority will, not majoritarianism. I am not, this is in revert to this article that was there by Sai Deepak, the Instagram person. But yeah, so again, not doing it, but maybe we can look at it some other time. Majority will, not majoritarianism. But today my focus is more on this Egypt meet that was there. And this article I'm taking up. And there is another article by Navdeep Suri, who is the former ambassador to Egypt. So I have an editorial where I'm getting much more points in a refined manner. So I'm doing that, not taking this up today. Okay. And then transforming the bank, that is about the reforms of within the multilateral developmental banks. So this is there. I've taken the screenshot. You can see the points have been annotated. So let us cover the first article. So in the recent times, that is para 1, in the recent times, we see that India has been investing in relations with Egypt. So we have, during the Republic Day, earlier in the year, we invited the Egyptian leader, Abdel Fattah el-Sisi, as the chief guest. So he was the chief guest at the Republic Day parade. So that was there. Then recently we had Prime Minister Modi's visit. He was conferred with the Order of the Nile. So that happened. Further, we have decided to upgrade our relations. So there has been upgradation of relations between the two countries. So from bilateral partnership, bilateral means two countries engaging as normal. So from bilateral partnership, we have moved towards strategic partnership. So the status of India-Egypt relationship has been upgraded from bilateral to strategic partnership, indicating that we have interest much more than what is between India and Egypt, but we have regional interest, right? Long-term interest. Our interests are aligned with each other, and we should engage much more than what we are doing. So that is the idea of strategic partnership. Greater engagement or deeper engagement is another expression that you can use. Now, what is this interest, strategic interest that we are talking about? So first of all, we see that Egypt is central to the geopolitics of West Asia. So you can see the map. This is the West Asia region over here. This over here is the West Asia region, Saudi Arabia, Jordan, Israel, Lebanon. This is all West Asia. And here we have Egypt, which is in Africa. But culturally speaking, Egypt is actually an Arab nation. Furthermore, if any development takes place over here, Egypt is also concerned with this, particularly like Arab war against Israel, or all of them, or Arabs are against Israel. So there is a unity that we can see with the West Asian countries. So Egypt has been involved in the politics of West Asia. For instance, after the Suez Canal in 1956, again, Suez Canal is a boundary between Africa and West Asia. Then the Arab-Israel war, they fought with the Arabs against Israel, which they lost. And ultimately, they recognized Israel in 1976. Israel again is part of West Asia. So Egypt is central to the geopolitics of West Asia, in which India has a lot of interest. Why? India has interest in West Asia because they want oil. They want oil at good rates. So that's critical for Indian economy. Besides this, with the oil trade, the West Asian countries have earned a lot of money. They have a lot of affluence. So that money can come in the form of capital. It can be invested to develop Indian infrastructure. So that is there. Then for the purpose of trade, we can also talk about connectivity. So all of this, we have interest with West Asia. Plus we have Indian diaspora who settled over there. So about welfare of the Indians in West Asian region. And who knows, from time to time, some crisis take place and evacuation programs. So again, we need goodwill from there. Okay, so that is the point. Besides this, the other important interest is the Suez Canal. Suez Canal is of great importance. The Suez Canal connects the Asia Red Sea region directly to the Mediterranean Sea. So this will allow for trade, cooperation, better connectivity with Europe. So all that. In fact, India and Egyptians actually want Indians to invest, the Indian industry to invest in the Suez Canal Economic Zone. So they want capital and investment in the Suez Canal Economic Zone. And we are also interested in this region. Besides this, we had, this relationship on defense also. So we are seeing Egypt as part of our Atmanirbhar initiative, Atmanirbhar defense production. So selling of defense equipments made in India to Egypt, starting with the Tejas light combat aircraft. So that is also there. Right. So these are some of the interests that we have in line with the Egypt. And these I have consolidated. Now coming to this transforming the bank, this article on multilateral development banks. So let us look at this. Just in case you don't know what are multilateral development banks, you can look at the World Bank Group. Right? So that is a good example of multilateral development banks. Then there is a proposal of an alternative to World Bank, that is the BRICS Bank. So that is at the global level. So, and they engage in providing developmental finance, right? Or for poverty alleviation programs. You must have seen many of our initiatives of the government, many schemes, they are seeking capital from the World Bank. So World Bank is one such institution, but there is a concern that World Bank, etc., is not able to reach out. There are some criticisms about the conduct of the World Bank, that it sets certain conditions on the countries that are borrowing. The money is given in such a way that it fulfills the interest of the developed nations, and this is filled with the people from the developed countries. So there are criticisms. So in response to that, a new bank, BRICS Bank, is being proposed. So this is at the global level. Then we hear emergence of regional banks, regional developmental banks, like Asian Development Bank, an initiative of Japan, and the Chinese Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank. So catering to the regional aspirations. So these are all multilateral development banks. Now, in the light of G20 summit, anything we today talk is mostly from the G20 summit, because G20 presidency is with India. And in this G20 presidency, there is an expert group on strengthening multilateral development banks, and they have to submit their reports, which we are awaiting. Anyways, fine. So this is there. We are waiting for it. But yeah. So you have an idea. These are the multilateral development banks. So the same thing is mentioned over here. We have the World Bank Group, which comprises of the IBRD, International Development Association, Multilateral Investment Guarantee Agency, and International Center for Settlement of Investments and Disputes. You know, in prelims, it was asked which of the following is not World Bank Group companies. So 4 options, 5 options were given, and you were to pick up the correct answer. And then we have the regional development banks, like I told you, Asian Development Bank or Asia Infrastructure Investment Bank, AIIB. Now there are concerns with the conduct of these multilateral development banks, and there are concerns associated with their procedures, approach, methods of work, and structure. And in light of this, NK Singh provides us with some of the pointers, right, which we can use. So he says that first point, that we are focusing on the multilateral banks have focusing on development financing, providing money for India, for example, so that they get developed. They need long-term capital for developing infrastructure, etc., or Sri Lanka or whichever. So they need long-term capital. So for development, so development finance, that has been the focus. But now we need to widen the mandate or broaden the mandate. We are having new challenges in the form of climate change, wars, again, Ukraine-Russia war, for example, or conflict like the Syria war. So that is also there. And because of that, migration crisis, settlement of that people, rehabilitation, that will also require funding. So climate change, conflict, and pandemic. So we need to be more inclusive. We need to broaden the mandate. And for that, we need more capital. Right. So that is required. So this should be done, broadening of the mandate, without compromising on the goal of without compromising on development financing. So that is the thing. So that is the first point. Now, given the issue of climate change, conflicts, and pandemics, we need a lot more capital. Presently, we have commitments of $120 billion to $130 billion. But if we cater to the issue of climate change, conflict, pandemic, we need as much as $2.4 trillion. Here we are talking about 120 billion. So $2.4 trillion, or you can say 20 times more than the money that is actually available or which is being committed. So we need a lot more capital over here. Right. So the first point was broadening of the mandate. Now with the broadening of mandate, we need greater capital, and you have the fact over here. Right? So that is required. And for this, we need to tap in more sources of finances. So that is required. So expanded need for finances, and importantly, the sources of finances. So that has to be widened. And talking about the sources of finances, we can add one more point, that is to bring in private capital. At present, we are looking at government, etc. So private capital needs to be mobilized. But the private capital comes with risk. So we have to de-risk. We have to adopt de-risking approaches. So sourcing of finances is linked to this point, that is providing in for the private capital. So we are done with this thing. We need to widen the mandate. For that, we will need more money, right? And besides this, we have to look at the operations of the multilateral development banks. We have to ensure that they are meeting more and more of their goals. We should set annual targets for these multilateral banks. There should be a system of accountability. Then they should leverage the capital available for it. For example, here we have a fact, that is the IBRD, one of the agencies of World Bank. They have just over $20 billion, and they have lent as much as $800 billion. There is a concept of capital creation. So leveraging of capital has to be there. There should be more leveraging done by the banking sector. So annual targets means more inclusivity also, because more and more pressure on the banks to lend money, and they will look at more avenues, so more inclusion. So that has to be there. Then with reference to the annual targets, we can have this over here. We should have an incentive structure, incentivizing the banks to lend more and more, incentive structure, and incentive for the others to pay back also. And we should also have coordination with other multilateral development banks. So if a particular one is doing in a particular domain, so there can be coordination in that respect. Then the concerns of the global south, the developing countries, should be addressed. Some of the concerns I had told you, that the way the lending is being done, or the representation of the board members, it is done in a way that it favors the developed countries or the Western Bloc. The global south feels that they are disadvantaged. So the interest of the global south should be duly represented. And in this light, India can play a pivotal role, as it is seen as a voice for the global south. So these were some of the points. Some I have added on my own. So this you can use, and this is an important topic from GS2. Normally we sideline such topics during a preparation. So here you have the content. Now we can very quickly go through the international and the business section, or the economy section, whatever it is called today. Okay, so the world section now. So Wagner chief, the chief of the mercenary group, Wagner. So he says that I told you yesterday that they had mutinied. They were fighting with the Russian army in Ukraine. So they were moving towards Moscow. They reached 200 kilometers towards Moscow. And they were demanding that the defense minister of Russia and the army chief be handed over to the Wagner group. So they were not happy with the conduct of the war. So they were moving towards Moscow. Now the Wagner chief is saying that they did not intend to topple the government. Their only concern was with the defense minister and the army chief. That's all. US carrier in Vietnam. So the development is taking place. A US aircraft carrier has reached over there. So yeah, this is part of USA's pivot to Asia. That is a policy of containing the Chinese. Coming to the economy section, Center approves rupees 56,415 crore to 16 states for capital investment. So special assistance is being given to states for capital investment. So this is part of the government's push for capital investment. And again, a question was asked recently in the mains paper about the investment in the public infrastructure for the betterment of the Indian economy. We'll discuss this later, right? So we extended the time for the news today, so that's why. Okay. confident of having a viable proposal for a 40 nanometer fab in next week. So when we say 40 nanometer, we're talking about electronics manufacturing. So this is an interview of the Minister of State for Electronics and IT. And from US, we heard about the Micron Group would be investing into India. So it's about the same. Now, from mains point of view, all we need to know is from GS3, industry, economy, what are the measures that the government is taking for promoting electronics manufacturing? So that is the theme that we need to focus. And here we'll have to refer to the PIB. I'll do it some other time. Yeah. SEBI may discuss FPI disclosure norms and mutual fund total expense ratio. So SEBI is a statutory body and it is responsible for the regulation of stock market. So they want to discuss FPI, foreign portfolio investment disclosure norms. That is, from where is the money coming? Who are the investors? Basic idea should be there, because otherwise stock market is seen as a conduit. Conduit means pipe for round tripping of black money. So they're concerned about this, and therefore they want to discuss FPI disclosure norms and mutual fund total expense ratio. Next, US EU slowdown to cripple 20% of small businesses. So we are seeing a slowdown in US EU. We are hearing about greater inflation in these countries. So this does not look good for the world economy, and it may have repercussions for the Indian economy as well, such as the IT sector. Right. So this is it from today's news. So thank you for streaming into our channel IASPrimers with me, Shubhashish. All the best. And if you have any doubts, you can mention in the comment section.